signed in while we were speaking, but indeed it's a good sign to see so many people. 204, that's good. I celebrate the HR month. I've been in this profession for, wow, long enough. Eh? And it is so good that a month has been set aside for us just to reflect, recharge ourselves, and reconnect as we share our experiences. I have been in the HR practice, formerly in employment, having started off in the government and state corporations, going to an international NGO, and then into consultancy, academia, and mediation and other aspects. I have also written a book, which is on HR, titled HR Practice, A Rare View with Salome Gitoho. That title is specific because it talks of stories and experiences during my work time, and some of the lessons, some of the things I did, what I learned, and now looking back in hindsight, what would I do different? Or what is it that I would not want you to go through, and therefore you learning from my experience. So that's a little about myself. I'll want just to get us started so that we can see what we have today. So I want us just to start with a small exercise. Those who like scanning or the code, I could actually, let me post this link in the chat, and then I think it is easier for you to click into a link. So there is that link, which is the Mentimeter. Kindly, if we can engage, let's all engage on this. I'll stop sharing for the time being. Let's engage on this link, and yeah, we'll continue. So let's.
I believe everyone can be able to see the link on the chats. Let us know if you're having any challenges in doing so. This will only take us a few minutes to fill. I believe it will guide Salome on her conversation today. And I believe we all want to get a lot of content to take home. I don't know whether you can see any responses from your end, Salome.
Let me just look at it. Let me see if we are already clicking. I went straight to the view, but have they? I can't.
They need a code. They need a code to access.
Okay, the code was okay. Let me put it back up. Let me put it back up. There we go. You can either click into the link in the chat or type in that code.
Yes, the code is 89680843. 89680843.
I can also put it in the chat so that I can go to the window to see how far it's going. Let me put it in the chat alongside. Oh yeah, it's already. Thanks, Catherine. You've typed it in. Let me get back to the chat.
Are we all getting through? Anyone having challenges going through to the Mentimeter?
Okay, my connection has some small challenge. I can see lots of responses on the second, but the first question, there is a first question. There is a first question.
The first question is, what traits make them creative?
No, we need to name a creative leader.
Okay, we need to name a creative leader that we know worldwide, and it can go as wide as worldwide. So it doesn't necessarily have to be.
I can see that now. People
local.
now I can see they are responding. Now they are responding. Yes.
Yeah. So let's keep filling in those names. We see how many we get.
Yes, I'll stop it because they are going well. I'll stop at around 50, then we can have the discussion. Okay. Wow, okay, exciting. Okay, so I'll come back to the
James
screen.
Nyamose. Yeah, James Nyamose, are you able to access the link? The questions are in the link. I believe we are at 58 now for question 1.
So okay, so do you want me to continue? I could share that. I can start sharing and then process. Or do you want a few more? No, I think let me share this. Yeah, let me.
Do all the questions have a response?
There are only 2 questions.
Okay, so they're all good.
So I think let me just see if the second one also has a response. Let me just go back. Great, both have. So let me come back and we can then work together. It helps when we are all together. So let me share the screen now and let's see what we are saying. So these are the leaders who we name as, who we think are creative. And it's quite interesting. Michelle Obama. Wow, there's a HR practitioner here. Sharon Kisire, excellent. Dr. Zippy Okoth, Julius Malema, Mother Teresa, George Natembea. I'm loving this. I'm seeing somebody who, a number have written myself. That is you. That's good. Barack Obama, Angela Maya, Bob Collymore, Timothy Kimani, Albert Einstein, Larry Page, James Mwangi, Elon Musk, Jack Ma. I'm looking for the locals: Moi Kibaki, Uhuru Kenyatta, Ruto, His Excellency Ruto, Charles Darwin, Michelle Obama comes up again, Michael Joseph, Suleiman Shabar. I think that should be Suleiman Shabar. Let me see other local. This is good because we have quite an Wangari Maathai, Magufuli, Daniel Goldman. I think you can see the names as they're coming up. And so let's then find out, why do we think these people are creative? What is creative about them? What are the traits? The names could go on, but what is it that makes you say that they are? Dedan Kimathi is also coming up. Dr. Martin Oduor, Ngugi wa Thiong'o. I think, there's no stopping. So what makes you say that, what traits do these people possess? And this is an interesting bit, because Kagame, wow, if I stay here, Julius Kipngetich, they're all there. So the traits, this is where I want us just to spend a few minutes and let's see what are the things that we say? What is creative leadership? Because this will form, or at least it will enable me fall back on some of these things. I see a lot of consistency, committed consistency, solutions oriented. Okay, some names are still coming back into the creativity. Okay, you're that passionate. Understanding the concept, welcoming diversity, critical thinking, innovation, being innovative and creative, flexibility, focus, open-minded. Wow, and the names are still popping up. I have now seen Jomo Kenyatta is in here and other Isaac Newton. Okay. Versatility, consistency, they're knowledgeable, a culture of engagement, the aspect of change, empathy. So we are seeing emotional intelligence coming up here. Openness, boldness. Great. I think we can all maybe pick one or two. I love that when you talk about innovation, creativity, when you say nurturing change, or there is quite a bit. I think we can stop. We can stop there because I believe we've got an idea on what we think creative leaders possess. And I liked that some people said themselves, which is great because this is what you're saying you have. Most of the time we look at leaders outward. So I'm encouraged that this team starts seeing the leader in you first, and you also bring out what it is that you feel makes you this great leader. Tech savviness is there, most definitely when you talk about innovation and creativity. So quite a bit there, and that's exciting. So then allow me then to start the conversation on that note. I think that was an exciting exercise, laying out our ground, a few names and the traits, which then take us to the actual now conversation that I want to have with you. And when we say creativity, you see, my first point is addressed when you're saying that you must see creativity in yourself. And I saw that some of you you said yourselves, and then you also have to see creativity in others. So we combine creativity and leadership when we are trying to look at these two. And I think for a working definition for us here, we need just to see that the creative leadership is not just static. It's not the usual when we say that the ability to influence people to follow you. In this particular aspect, we're saying that you have the tact, the ability to generate ideas, not just generate, you also will be executing them through the action of others. So you have the idea, you coin it, but then to execute, you're not going to be executing on your own. And when we look at creative leadership, it means there is some leadership that's not creative. So the distinction is that in the creative, you generate and execute innovative ideas. While in the traditional or non-creative leadership, we see leaders sticking to what has been tried and tested. These leaders don't want to ruffle the feathers or disturb the water. They want to do, what does the book say? What did my predecessor do? What does the organization expect? What is the audience? Some of us will go back to who were the leaders who were cited in the first slide. What are the traits that were shared in the Mentimeter? So we need to see that the first step is for you to see whether you're creative in the leadership is, are you innovative? Are you generating ideas? And are you working? Are you distorting the norm? Are you disrupting? Previously, the word disruptor, most people thought was a troublesome person. You know, that employee who is always asking, why don't we do this? Why must we follow the procedure? some of those employees were disregarded. But we've seen that today, the disruption is actually a welcome thing. And if you are still battling with disruption, then we need to see, maybe you are still in the non-creative leadership. So that's something we need to look at. Right, then moving on, from what we have seen in terms of, from what we have seen in terms of the even your responses. And in leadership generally, anyway, we'll always have a reason, a vision or a purpose. Sometimes it may not be so distinct, but there must be something that drives you, that pushes you, that keeps that fire in the belly, that wants you to do something or to say something. And that brings about what will inform your process. Then where is your knowledge base? And the knowledge base can be interaction with colleagues, reading, reflecting, watching something, listening to something, which then may give you some inspiration. Now, at this stage, the sparks need to fly. When you have the information, it's not as simple. For you to be creative, the sparks have to fly somewhere. Because if you just follow the process, the old treadmill, then you are non-creative, because you will stick to the script. And what we have seen at the workplace, especially with millennials and Gen Zs, is there's a very big why on why we want them to do things in a certain way and why not change things. So that creativity spark has to come out. Now, you as the leader who is leading innovative people, creative people, you need then to see how you structure or how you build or how you mold or encourage and direct these creative people that you're in charge of. So the capability, what competencies are there? And like we say, and this is a big aspect in our HR practice, what is it we are doing to motivate and inspire? Because this is not the norm. This field is not the norm. It is not where we'll be, everything will be provided in the HR manual or in other reference. It is, we have to think out of the box, and we then have to empower these people to deliver that which had that spark at the inspiration. We must come up with areas or things that we then put in place. It's sort of like once you have molded and seen the capabilities, you've assessed and see how you motivate them. Now it's time to let them fly. You empower them. You just give them, either it is the tools, the inspiration, but you empower them to do that which you saw at the inspiration, at the spark. Now, this is where sometimes leaders have a difficulty, because some of these things are beyond our zones. So you have to have that freedom and that knowledge and that safety and self-confidence in yourself that the people you're leading are going to deliver that which you saw together. So you empower them to proceed. If we do not empower them here, then the cycle somehow breaks. And as we see, we'll keep referring to what is happening worldwide, of course, Kenya leading, but even in other countries, when we have seen the Gen Zs drive some of the change that we are seeing. If we do not tap in, there's nothing that does not have a lesson. So how are we going to use this creativity that we have seen? So sometimes you could be a creative leader in an environment that doesn't support you, or you could be a leader that is got the ideas, but you don't know how or where the other creative leaders are. So we ask ourselves, how do we tell or how do we identify the creative leaders? because they are there. So we need to see, how do these people manifest? How do creative leaders manifest themselves? The first thing is they are very self-confident. They are not afraid. They will go out and speak, do that which they believe in. Things do not have to be clear for them. And I think this is a very key point, tolerance for ambiguity. If we look at our youth today, some of them don't want to know what the end game is. They know that this is what we must do and it will pay off. So things don't have to be that clear. We have also seen that this aspect of facing obstacles, that you persevere. So if you're a leader that thrives in the comfort zone and loves comfort or sitting, and the comfort zone can be in policy. Sometimes HR managers find comfort in the policy, find comfort in the known, find comfort in their colleagues, their organizations. They will never leave to go to another organization, perhaps because they don't want to face obstacles. But for creative leaders, actually thrive in facing obstacles. And this then means for them risks, they can take risks easily. When we are saying don't ban this, they say let's ban and see what happens. So they have to be risk takers, because that's the only way they're going to grow. They have to take risks. They have to come out of the comfort zone and learn and grow. So actually, most of the time, creative leaders or creative leadership is about learning on the go. You face the first obstacle, you keep moving, the next, but you must be ready to be honed, whatever each lesson is teaching you. But much as they are risk takers and they persevere all this, they also, there's an aspect of humility. They're open to new experiences, which they will go for. But there is also an aspect of humility, that all this is not being done walking over people or ignoring the input of their teams. So they'll be ready to listen, come down from the position to interact with the team and learn, because they want to grow. Creative leaders also then grow because they accept mistakes. Because of the issue of tolerating ambiguity, they learn, oh, so this is where this leads. So this is where this is going. Okay, so next time, yeah, we're going to change, or we can take a few steps back. So they were, by having that position to accept mistakes, they learn a lot and they grow. One of the things which sometimes leaders, and that was in the slide before this, the aspect of empowering the teams. Creative leaders do not keep information or experiences to themselves. They are good at empowering. So a creative leader must empower people. So I want to pause here for a minute and just let's engage again in the chat, remembering what we put in there. Look at this now and let's type in the chat. Let's look at this slide briefly. Do we identify different people, or are they the same people? When we look at the creative leaders here, the traits, there are other names. This time we won't do it on the Menti. We are just going to type in the chat. So when you look at this, which leaders do you identify? Let's put it in the chat and let's see how it goes. Right, I want to see activity in the chat. Again, myself, wow, Bobby Wine, all right. Let's go. Julius Kipngetich, Barack Obama again. So with those traits, this is what we're identifying. I like those who consistently say themselves, James, Juma, Jesus. Bobi Wine again, yourself. Mark Zuckerberg, James Mwangi of Equity, Dr. Martin Oduoro Tieno, Boniface Mwangi, Tom, okay, Gen Z. Yes, that was bound to come up. Okay, Uhuru. Let's go on. Let's keep this coming. Wow, some names are very, Pope Francis, Barack Obama. Barack comes up a lot. And myself, whoever is there, you people who are saying yourself, that's good. Tom, is that Mchelule? I think then George Natembea. Yes, then some of the names are the same. So it's good. So it means we are able to identify, we are seeing these traits and Dr. Zippy Okoth, again, the names come up, Senator, okay. Onyonka is trending, yes, right now. Barack Obama, great. So I think Millie Odhiambo, there was somebody, Cheponyi, Martha Karua, Prof. Wangari Maathai, yes. Okay, I also like that there are a number of people, Millie Odhiambo, there are a number of people who say themselves, and that's a good thing. If we don't identify yourself as a leader, yes? Can we mute if we are not addressing? Okay. So you've seen the traits again, and I just want us to discuss, to move on and then see what then are the principles that guide creative leadership. So the question for HR practitioners, who is in charge of organizational well-being? And what are some of the things we need to put in place for the organizational well-being? Sometimes we're very good at doing the temperature checks, the climate surveys. What other names are we calling these surveys and exercises that we do? So for us to get this creative leadership, is somebody saying something, or if we can mute kindly? Yes, so it is our territory to do the surveys and to do all those temperature checks to see the organizational well-being. So it is that's a key principle. Then the personal and organizational transformation. And here, the creative leaders, it's not the usual, and I hope your HR practitioners, we're not just, and the other leaders who are on this call, it's not just about the structured programs that we have. This is about asking also, what can we do differently? What is it we need to change? When we did the last survey, this is what we found. But have we listened? Because listening has become, has always been, but right now I think we are learning we have to listen differently. And what are we putting in place to listen and hear? Because sometimes we may listen but not hear exactly what is being said. How do we get the clarity in our organization direction? Strategic plans are there. Various other milestones are there. But if I look at number 3 and number 6, where we are being told to lead and work with the head and the heart. Of course, the hands are there, but the head and the heart, what is that connection? And how do we get this clarity on the direction that we are going? Another principle is how to overcome the barriers to creativity. And one of the big barriers here is fear. How do we receive people who come with out-of-the-box suggestions so that we do not keep these barriers, or we do not block innovation and creativity? How do we overcome that? What are some of the things? How do we listen? And how do we empower people to bring these ideas to us? Who creates this page? Who creates this transformation? Who creates the creative aspect? Is it just you, the leader, you, the HR manager? Or do you have a team? Or do you have meetings? So the principle here is design it together. Come together and design. Are you an inclusive leader? Do you bring all the teams and listen to the ideas and put them together? I want again just for us to engage. What are we doing in our organizations? I'd like us just on the chat, I'll leave this up, and I'd like us to share in the chat what are some of the things we are doing in our organizations, because we are here to enrich each other with what we are doing. So while this slide is up, maybe we can share on the chat and see what people are doing in terms of overcoming the barriers to creativity, chatting, bringing clarity in your organization. How are you an inclusive leader? How do you lead with your head, heart, and hands? So what you do is type in the actual point and then tell us what you're doing. Thank you. Eleda, learning new technologies. That's good. If we don't learn, then actually creativity and innovativeness won't come up. Catherine, okay, that's a question. Thank you. What are we doing in our organizations? Catherine has typed the question. We are over 270. Encouraging mentoring activities. If we can get 50 ideas, this will be good. Continuous training on EI or EQ, mentoring new staff, okay? Listening deeply. I love that word. Innovation, investing in technology and training our members, coaching in CAPS, wellness programs. Well, what else are we doing? Implementation of DEI, diversity, equity, and inclusion, building relationships, time to listen, delegating and avoiding micromanagement. Yes, coaching and mentoring again, consistent feedback, clear communication. If I miss the point, it's just that they're flying so fast, but I'm sure we all can access this, building on the gains. I love these talks on mental health in CAPS, root cause analysis when things go wrong, and what tools will we use for that root cause analysis? Okay, listening more, employee resource programs, leveraging on tech, risk-taking culture. Yes, that's something we need to embrace. Let's not be paralyzed by fear. Allowing employees to try and make a few mistakes. Mistakes are good for learning. Embrace change. Okay, giving feedback. Creating a lab to nurture innovative ideas in the organizations. How many of us will do that so that we may not be able to pick some of these ideas immediately, but we can fall back on them. I like that idea. Really good ideas coming up here. Encourage creativity and innovation, open thinking. Yes. Good. And I hope you can save the chat for yourself to keep all these points so that once we are done with this talk, you still will have access to all these points, leading by example, flexibility. Right. Great. I love it too, Esther. So what else? Let's then continue, because on this aspect, what I'm trying to do here is enrich whatever we are cross-pollinating the ideas we have, so that as we continue, we then ask ourselves this very important question. How do we, what do we need to do with all those points? Are you aware that creativity may not always deliver fast changes? So that patience, a key point will therefore be, we need a lot of patience. You see all those ideas that came up, there were so many, but we need to know that it's easy to put them out, but we need patience to get them going. Therefore, our role in this instance will not, it's not just to have all those ideas. Whoops. Let me get out of that. I think there's some interruption there. Let me get back. There we go. So your idea is not just to collect the ideas, it's to cultivate a culture where everyone can have ideas and feel that they are valued. So you get the ideas, yes, but it's not as simple as packing them or having an inventory, but it is welcoming them. And then you will use the same population, use the same people to now engage or interact with them. So collecting is one, having the patience to realize that it is not instant, that things are not going to change overnight, but get that culture where people feel free, that if I have an idea, the minute you have an idea, you can bring it, it will be appreciated, it is valued by the feedback you give or how you utilize. What are you doing with the ideas that are brought? Of course, now with emotional intelligence, we know how to give feedback, how to appreciate, how to regulate, how to use that which is being brought to us for the benefit of the whole. Yeah, so let's then move on and see, when you're talking about creative leadership, where were we, or where are some of us? And what are the few things? There are very many, but I just want to bring up a few on a few aspects or differences on traditional leadership versus creative leadership. So the first one is traditionally following the HR manual or following policies. Following, when something comes up, the first thing you do before you finish listening is to say chapter and verse. That is chapter this, cap this, subsection this, section this, subsection that. When you become too rigid in policy, you can't quite operate as a creative leader. I'm not saying policy has to be done away with, but policy is simply a guide to enable us do that which we should. So don't just follow what the HR manual or what the company rules and regulations say. You should be able to improvise according to the situation. And as we're going along, we're seeing situations which don't exist in the manuals. Some of the things we're seeing, we have to rewrite the rules, I think. Those who have been with me in some training, there's the story I tell of the plant, the equipment where car manufacturing plant, where they have a long pipeline where a car starts off as a shell, and as it moves to your station, perhaps you're adding the wheels, the rear view mirror, the windscreen, each at a stage. And now in these times of automation, there is a pillar standing there, a book. The books are not necessarily, okay, previously there used to be manuals hung somewhere on the pipeline, on the value chain, where if there is any mistake, you went to the book to check what is the mistake, what has made the plant stop, why isn't it moving? So any error was found in that book. So this particular time, these workers are on site and they are busy working. Then somebody sees a snake. And when they look at it, they start telling each other, snake, snake. So the person on the ground tells the supervisor, snake. And the supervisor tells the manager, snake. And the manager goes to the function director, snake. And the director goes to the CEO, snake. CEO calls a board meeting, snake. And the board asks, who first saw the snake? And the worker is very quick. That was me. What did you do when you saw the snake? And the worker says, I checked in the manual and it doesn't say anything about a snake. So let us not be that rigid that you cannot improvise according to the situation. Traditional leadership, reliable. This we have done, it is tried and tested, but this other one is the validity aspect. Creative leadership, we've talked about taking risks, while traditional leadership is about order. This is how we do it. Step one follows step two follows step one, and that way. The other aspect is traditional leadership does not always, it doesn't welcome feedback. And while creative leadership does not mind being critiqued, there's a lot of openness towards being critiqued. So what type of a leader are you? And creative leaders will always learn from mistakes because that's the enemy. But traditional leadership avoids mistakes. You don't want to be wrong. You don't want to be seen. That may not be a very good thing for us to do. Right. Then moving on, because we have been engaging along the way, I was going to give us a break, but I think we can continue. I think we are still good to continue sitting. If I can get thumbs up or just hands up, the electronic hand, so that I can see that we don't have to take a quick break. When we do virtual training, sometimes we give 2 minutes, but I think you have been very active responding on the chat. So I believe that we can continue. Thumbs up. Great. So we continue. Thank you. So I will jump my next slide and just now. So that's a creative leadership. And where are you now? Have you seen yourself? I'm happy that a number of you could see yourself. Have the rest of us seen ourselves? That's the first thing we need to ask ourselves. Seeing all those traits, those interactions, did you see yourself? Maybe in the beginning you didn't, but along the way, I hope you are. So that now we can now see, how do we create a culture of continuous improvement? We have seen that the creative leadership is not the norm. How do we create this culture? And the first thing we need to look at is just an appreciation of continuous improvement. And HR, we know this. We are the custodians of performance management, all those indicators, all those metrics. If you're not using a balanced scorecard, you have some other measure that we check the continuous improvement. But is it just measuring that you achieved and missed it? Or is there a gap somewhere? So we need to look at what are our measures and metrics, and what are they for? What are the management purposes for them? So continuous improvement, we need a lot of that. Commitment to the shared goals and compelling awareness. Are we all on board? Even as we link that to the strategy, the vision, mission, and deliverables. We always joke that when you ask what is the mission and vision, everybody turns to look at the wall, wherever the mission or vision is hanging. For continuous improvement, all these have to be in the heart. We have to see how we operate this and measure it, not for the purposes of, although it's a good thing, achieving your target so that you can get your increment. Of course, that's a good thing. But I think the bigger part is, how does the organization grow? So yes, they all count. But the process, what is the process that we use? For continuous improvement, the process is very, very important. That is what will ensure that we achieve our goal. And the process mapping, in one of the organizations I worked, which was a hospital, one of the things we did is to map out the process journey, right from when you get in from the gate to the time you get out. How long did it take you? What were those processes? How long did each process or how long did each step take? Then now an analysis of some of those things can be cut out. You know, sometimes you're doing business with yourself. You are doing business to ensure that you can cover yourself, but you need to do business for the customer, for the client. So you analyze all those steps, then to see where are we meeting the target, what do we need to cut out, what do we need to change, adapt, be creative about all that. So for continuous improvement, the process mapping is something that is very, very important. And we need to write all the steps that are there. So as we go towards continuous improvement, what are there are three interfaces here. We need to look at the leadership, the processes, and the tools. So in the process, even as we are talking about process mapping, it should be with an approach to problem solving or improving whatever that process is doing. Now, this last point, benchmarking, does not have a very good name, but we don't have to go overseas for benchmarking. You just look at your colleague. What are they doing in the organization that they are succeeding? Or what did we do in the other department that they are succeeding? On the leadership, key things like facilitation, the coaching, how are you influencing and the building, the team? Once you have looked at the processes that you need, don't just issue a circular. Have exercises or activities that you'll use in building this team, the team building. But along with the processes, a key thing here is the tools. What tools are we using in our continuous improvement? How do we structure our problem? We have very many tools or even diagrams, theories. How do we structure and how do we define what is the problem? Everything in research, the first thing is, what is the problem? Must there be a problem? Or do you decide to move, have a clean slate to start with? But we need to look at how are we structuring that need to change or to improve. So it can be a problem definition or a situation of definition. We can do this better. And then look at what are the key components of that process, analyze that, and then start the aspect of generating solutions. So it's not enough to start and stay at the problem. Move quickly to the solution. And what tools are you going to use as you generate these solutions to this problem that is in front of you? And it doesn't have to be that you are generating ideas for the sake of it, but it is good whenever you have any problem to think of different ways, creative ways of finding solutions to that situation you find yourself in. Any comment or question so far?
Hello, team. Anyone with questions so far? I'm sure we have had quite a bunch of items to bite. I don't know whether there's anyone who has a question so far. I've been asking we engage in the chat as well so that she can respond to them as we go along. But I believe that we are quite getting something to take home, and even to ask ourselves, do we have the principles that it takes for us to be those creative leaders that we admire? Because at the end of the day, yes, we do have people we admire, and yes, we want to be like them, but now we know what is it that we need to instill in ourselves for us to be creative leaders. I think we are going to get questions as we go along, so perhaps you can keep going.
Okay, all right. Okay, thank you, Mweni. Nice to see you. I see you asking about the presentation. Yes, I'll give this to IHRM and they will pass them on. But I always say that what we discuss, the interaction that we have, there's some things that won't be in the slides. And that's why I use the chat so that we can have all these ideas with us. The presentation in itself may have gaps because it was meant to provoke some questions. So let's put some of the ideas in the chat or take our notes so that it can connect when you get the slides. Right, so the three things towards continuous improvement. The leadership is key, extremely key. And then the vehicle that you're going to use in this continuous improvement is the processes and the tools. So structure them, and you can create, you can consult, or you can start with what you have. It's always good to start from a point, but don't close the door for those who want to start on a clean slate. Listen to them and then decide, okay, it will work, can work, may not work, needs modification. So those are things that that will help the process. So keep the tools and write out the process clearly. So then, how then do we foster this culture of continuous improvement? You know, when the word comes continuous improvement, and having talked about performance earlier, we're not talking about continuous improvement because you didn't meet your targets. We're talking about building upon successes also. And even in quality, we talk about continue. You have to keep getting better, because the minute you stop where you are, you don't remain there. Actually, you go down. So we need to see, how do we get this to be a culture, that it is not a one-off. So I have a couple of things here that we can look at. And the first thing is the leadership commitment. And participants here, all the delegates here are in leadership. The commitment. Are you really committed towards this continuous improvement? Not because the policy says so, but because you also believe that that's the way to go. And if you believe that that's the way to go, how then do you impart it? How do you influence the employee? Through empowerment. So one, listening to them and sharing ideas, and then giving them what they need. Either it is the skills or sometimes it is just confidence, letting them know, yeah, you can you take this away and keep me posted. So you empower them to do the task that was ahead of you. But even as you are empowering them, it's not that they go, 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 go. You have to see how they come back and update you. So the feedback loops are very, very important. Learning culture. Learning culture is an area that there's learning, which and then there's training, and then there's the academic. So we are looking at it is not academic, because academic something is making you do that. We want a culture that enables or actually encourages the teams to always find out what next, what more can I do, what new can I acquire. And learning is not, it can be in a classroom, but most learning is at the desk or is in life. So how do you factor or foster this culture that we are to have a learning culture all through? A key thing for HR practitioners, have we created it? What are the things we need to put in place for a learning culture? Sometimes we send off people for training, so the person acquires something new, some new knowledge. But when they come back, there is no attempt to share or to download or to just build on bring what it is they got out there to the team so that everybody can be on board or can adopt. So we have to see what ways do we develop a learning culture. Another way to foster a culture of continuous improvement is this process mapping. And the example I've given of a patient journey, you too can, a HR journey, you can look at it, employee journey, right from when you put that, you can look at a specific position, from identifying a vacancy, crafting the position specification, advertising, going through the steps to get you to shortlists and have an interview and assess the candidates and identify a candidate, do the reference checks, onboard the employee, and now manage this talent. So right up to the end, including all the growth, all the learning, all the growth into positions, when you send them out to other countries or to other departments or to other areas, all those steps that you take up to an exit. For instance, if you're looking at turnover, if you have a very high turnover of a particular field or a particular position that you need to find out what's happening here, you can do a process mapping right from when you identify that vacancy, then analyze. You will then have developed a culture. You'll use the learning to improve whatever it is that was making this revolving door of employees. Another aspect you can use is experimentation and risk-taking. Not to experiment, we're allowed to take risks, but we're not saying that let's see how we do this for the sake of it and we're going to burn some cash here. Experimentation is an informed process, and you can use it from the process mapping aspect or learning. You need to put in place that for continuous improvement, these bits are allowed. You want to try a new idea? Let's discuss it and let's see, and then you support what is required in that process. It's very common in research and in labs where they have to keep trying. They mix all these reagents and then they start again. So we also need to see, how do we do it safely at the workplace? When I say safely here, I'm only thinking about the costs, but we need to experiment and have that spirit of taking risks for improvement so that we learn. Recognition and rewards. We cannot keep asking employees to try new things or to do new stuff when some of these things are happening. Even when there was a good idea and it did not work, how do we recognize? How do we appreciate that was a good thing to do? We must be able to recognize. Okay, recognition, yes, we know that it is not necessarily, it would be good if there was cash, but it's not always. But recognize. We see pictures of team leaders or best, somebody who has done something really well, or this team presented this idea. In this experimentation and risk-taking, pull out some of those people and reward them. And then to avoid working in silos or to enhance organizational support and success, let's work across the functions. So we have cross-functional collaboration. What is each person bringing? And this means, therefore, fear and competition is gone, right? Fear is gone. You know that that other team can only build you, can only improve you. If you get this culture, then you also grow. Some of the decisions we make, yes, data-driven, but are we using just data of existing? When we do research, we find this is what we have used. Or are we also using data on possibilities and new methods, new learning, new evidence, not just historical? We cannot just lagging factors. We can look at leading. We can look at aspects, possibilities. Because when we look at this, then we see that the continuous improvement then becomes a core value. So the last bit about the decision-making, cross-functional collaboration, and especially experimentation and risk-taking, all these are aspects that we need to do intentionally towards making this culture, fostering this culture of continuous of continuous learning, continuous improvement. Again, emphasizing transparency and accountability. Whatever it is we are doing, clearly, we must be accountable. We must put it out there well. Do we collaborate? If we are talking about collaborating, is the communication open and clear? One of the steps earlier we had said is measure. This measure, what metrics are we using? HR, I think we're very good at setting. I think we now have metrics for almost everything, but not just the employee. Remember, now this is business. We have to look at the whole organization. This is leadership. What other metrics can we influence the other people that for everything to be measurable? What best practice can we adopt? What are other people doing? What has been put out there but we have not tried? Mindset. When we say fear has to go, there are times we remain fixed. You don't want to try this because it might fail. We must put out a growth mindset that whatever we are doing, we will venture into areas perhaps that we have not been. And we have looked at the employee, but remember, we are business partners. So we need to look at what is the big picture. How is what we are doing enhancing our competitive advantage and the market share? So we need that data also. When you're talking about data-driven decisions, these are some of the things we shall bring on the table. Improving efficiency and productivity, not just for the employee's core, but for the business. For how does this add up? So these are ideas on how to enhance a culture. And as we know, culture is not doing it today, tomorrow, next month, next week. It is something that we entrench. So what are we going to put in place? What practices, what tools, what systems? Do we need champions? Do we need slogans? How do we build this in our activities? IHRM will be having a sports day. We all know that at sports days, we are very good at coming up with slogans to chant. But when it comes to change and fostering a culture, what are these chants that we shall give to encourage each other? I know a number of you here have done, there's this thing called the fire walk. I once did that fire walk where you walk on live charcoal, hot. Those who have done it know it. Those who haven't don't believe it is so. It is true. But you walk on fire. And what is it that makes us walk on that fire, even as you're seeing that it is hot? The key thing is, first of all, not to look down. The key thing is to look ahead at your target. Either you just look at ahead, looking up so that you don't see the fire, because when you look at the fire, your mind will tell you that the fire is hot and your body then jumps. So we chant ice cold, ice cold, ice cold, ice cold as you're walking. You're convincing yourself. And if you start, don't stop, because if you start, you can't try again. So you psych yourself, you say the ice cold, you look up and you walk, surprise, surprise, you have made it. But if you stop in between, obviously you will burn or you will have to jump out. So how do we create this culture to enable us move on? That's a key thing. Okay. Thomas. Hey, maybe I should ask you the question. Why then are we doing this continuous improvement? this creativity for continuous improvement. Why? What are some of the benefits? Maybe we can type that in. What are some of the benefits of fostering a culture of continuous improvement? We can type it in.
Perhaps repeat the question.
What are some of the
Salome?
benefits of creating a culture, of fostering a culture of continuous improvement? Okay, thank you. I see it's coming up. Aha. High productivity enhances organizational survival. Team cohesion, employee retention, adapting, enhancing staff productivity, cope with the dynamic world, business continuity, organizational survival at the mid of competitiveness, competitive advantage, keeping, okay, sorry, somebody keeps breaking on and off. Is it me who is breaking on and off?
You're very fluent on my end, I believe, for majority of us. Perhaps it's her network on her side.
Okay. Oh, okay. I think it's, yeah, you've written that. Thank you. Adaptability and organizational flexibility, employee engagement and satisfaction, cost saving, employee retention. Yeah, quite a number of points. Why it is important, and so it's good that at least we agree that it's something we need to do, because these creative leaders that we have said and the strategies that they need to put in place, looking at the principles, we then see that, like you have said, some of them, operational efficiency, you increase that, because you learn, you look at what you did before, why you did it, what you missed, and indeed the operational efficiency comes up. Continuous improvement will reduce any wastage and costs. And that's why I was being careful when I was talking about experimentation and risks, because it is calculated. You have to plan and see what is it you need to do and how do you do it. But the reduction of waste and costs is like the example I've given of process mapping or a journey, an employee journey or a product journey. You're able to identify where the wastage is and you can cut that out. You can manage those costs if you are improving this. Customer satisfaction. Most of us in the organizations have had the feedback from customers. Why do we do it? Why do we ask them to tell us how we are doing? And how do we measure it? The CSI, the Customer Satisfaction Index, have we set it out? And what are the parameters? What is the baseline? This is where we are, and this is where we expect to go. Why do we do that? And when we find out what the complaints are, we train people so that they can improve the service, because we want to increase the customer satisfaction. So continuous improvement leads us to this customer satisfaction by addressing the issues that have been brought up. And along with that is the quality improvement. If it is a service or a product, when we know the various steps where we are missing or where we have excesses or repetitions, we will be able to improve the quality by continually. Some of them will be talks. Most of you in restaurants, we've seen before service, the service staff meet and have what they call a baraza. And they go through what is the menu, how are they going to serve it, what do they say, and what are possible drawbacks, and they discuss that, and the supervisor or manager gives them some pep talk using some of the feedback from the day before. So that enables them to improve their service. They give the feedback to the chef improves the dish. So all that, when we do when we have a culture of continuous improvement, it enables us to improve our quality. Then the culture of innovation goes back to the leadership, creative leadership. This leader who allows you not only to think of innovative ideas, but to execute them also. So once we do this regular, once it's a culture, it's a habit, then it improves the delivery of service. So that is a clear benefit of continuous improvement. And remember, when you're talking about creative leaders or creative leadership versus traditional leadership, one of the things we said is taking risks or doing things that are new. And I think one of the other things we said in traditional leadership is while you follow the manual in the creative leadership, you actually improvise. So when you have a culture of continuous improvement, you realize that what we did yesterday, which was a change, needs some adaptation, just so that we can improve the quality. But then also the culture of innovation is when we say, ask your teams. So this is how we did it yesterday. Can we change? And this is where, again, the culture, a creative leader does not fear new ideas. You're open to diverse conversations. You will listen to your team, whatever they're bringing. While the traditional leader does not want new stuff, they don't want to stick to the norm. You want to remain in harmony. This is how we did it. This is what has worked. And I must say here that it may be working, but you need to grow. You can't grow by remaining constant, by doing the things you continually do. You must listen and encourage change. So your leadership style really matters, and creative leadership will actually guide you towards this improved continuous improvement. But there are some challenges that could come up. Any change, any potential change must have some challenges. And what are some of these challenges that could come up in continuous improvement? Or why doesn't it work? Or why does it fail sometimes? There are times when we just fail to understand the problem or the situation. You don't get it. You don't assess it properly. You didn't do a good analysis. And if that happens, sometimes some people are discouraged and do away with it. But if you try to understand what is the problem, what was it we were addressing, or what is it doesn't have to be a problem. What is the situation? What situation were we in that led to this, and why do we need to change it? Another common thing in our space, delegating problems. What should we do when we find that somebody has a problem? Are we still transferring problems at the workplace? So this person is not performing, is not doing well in this area, but instead of addressing the person and the issue where it is, you move it to you move the problem with the person to another area. Why do you not attend to the issue before you delegate it? A creative leader will attend to it and not delegate. So the challenge here is you delegate it, and I want to be very specific here. It's good to ask people, what do you think? Not to hand over the problem, and not because it is a challenge. So really you're pushing it away to somebody else. But you can invite ideas, and when you are sure that they have got it and can move with it, then you can delegate. Another shortcoming or challenge is just working with what you know. You only use techniques that you know. You don't consult, You don't update yourself. We don't read about it. We don't try. So we just use the old techniques. That's traditional leadership. Creative leadership tells us to try key things, try new ideas. And that's why it comes to the systems. What systems are we using at the workplace? Have we updated, or are we still working on? And it is not an issue of cost, because I think we can build business cases. And techniques are not actually about costs. It is how you apply. And if you are listening to your team, they can come up with some techniques that perhaps you don't know. So it is your mindset. Are you allowing feedback? Are you allowing critique? Are you allowing diverse conversations? We always talk about the fear of failure. Any change, I think all of us, the first thing that comes to mind is, what if it doesn't work? But we should not allow that to paralyze us, because then the continuous improvement will not take place. You must, with the culture, all those steps that we are talking about, you must be ready to take a risk. You must be ready to experiment. And when you experiment, when we did the experiments, especially in labs and research, there are two outcomes. You can get what you're looking for, or you can fail. And if you fail, you go back to the drawing board and start something else. You keep starting, keep trying until you get it. So the fear of failure has to be addressed, because this is one of the things that makes continuous improvement fail. Then, of course, poor teamwork. Not everybody is on board. Not everybody is aware of what the whole process of continuous improvement is. You're working with a select few. So when you know what it is when you work with a select few, they say, yeah, it's your project, continue. So as a creative leader, these are some of the things we need to mitigate against, that we don't delegate, that the aspect of we're not delegating problems. We are broad-minded about techniques. We are accepting new ones. Feel the fear, but do it anyway. Don't just be afraid, move on. Build your team and encourage them to bring ideas. And then also, let's understand what the problem is. Right, so I'd like to stop there, and then we can engage a little in the remaining minutes. Maybe there can be some questions and contributions from the floor. So I'd like to stop there and we engage a little, so that as I said, I'm not custodian of this. We are here to share. So let's, Catherine, let's hear a little from the members. It could be a question or a contribution. Thank you.
And there you have it. Thank you so much, Salome, for the information that you have shared this afternoon. And I believe it has been quite insightful. We do have a question from Anne Karimi, I believe, that came in a little bit earlier. And she was asking, and I think she has repeated the same question, where she's a bit concerned about there's a trend that even for employment, recruiters and employers are asking for a number of years of experience, even for entry-level job positions. Now she's concerned about the learning on the job. She feels like this is killing creativity in organizations by barring people from learning from mistakes while on the job. Perhaps you can comment on that as we wait to see whether there are any more conversations or questions that will arise from the information you've shared this afternoon. So karibu.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Anne. Yes, sometimes it's a catch-22. We are looking at it. So we draw up this nice advert. Yes, you see you can do the job because you've done it. Perhaps you are a creative person and you are not afraid. You have ventured into that space, but the position specification is asking for 5 years experience or more. And you are not getting an opportunity to get into the meeting room, to show them that you can do this. Then the other aspect is leaders allowing employees to make mistakes. So I want to answer in the context, in those two contexts. I think we in HR, we have to then change our script. We are the ones who are drafting these position specifications. We are also the ones who are seeing the turnover, that employees stay with you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. So we need, remember when I was talking about the process map to find out what is the best thing that we can do. So we need to look at it. When you have an employee, when you are recruiting, how long do they take to adjust or settle to the job? Are we giving them the right environment to empower them, to encourage them to get the skills? And if your answer is yes, that you are a good manager, you will develop them, and you have seen that in that 1 year they can do it, then the question goes back to us. Then why are we asking for a lot of experience when we know that these people can do or can learn fast or can do that assignment? So at entry level position, I know for senior positions we have very detailed interviews and we assess the skills, not just the knowledge. So here let's put out knowledge. We need to encourage ourselves that we look for, when we use something like the STAR method of interview, to see, are these people able to deliver that which they're saying? Because if at entry level we're just asking people theoretical questions, which they can Google or which they can read and answer the questions, perhaps to some people's satisfaction, we need to see, is there another way we can assess the fact, how, if they can do the job or not? So in that case, then, can we recraft our adverts, or can we have aspects where we take the mean and now equip them, not just give them the job direct, but equip them and give them tasks to see how they can learn this continuous improvement or continuous improvement? What are the tasks we shall give them? So beyond the job description, can we add, when we have probation, we usually say, these are the indicators or these are the tasks you need to perform and this is what you'll be assessed against. So what are these skills? What are the things we will be expecting this person to go through? And that is what now can address at the entry level, that they can come in, but then we have a supervision where we assess, we teach the skills and also assess them. As for making mistakes, we need to, we always say, or it is said that it is better to make a wrong decision than to make none at all. So we have to teach people to step out, to be courageous, to take risks. Yes, what happens is some risks are expensive, but how are we mentoring the new entrants, or how are we mentoring employees on responsible risk taking? And how do we respond when they make mistakes? Is it shouting at them? Is it discipline? Or is it the door? We need to create that environment. So we are the ones to advise leadership or the organization on how we are changing now the specification when it comes to recruitment, so that it is not just an elimination tool. I'm recruiting somebody to come and do the exact job. Therefore, there is no talent, there's no potential to grow. Let's recruit potential talent that they can grow into that job instead of recruiting masters of the job. So I think that's what I can say on that one. The next one, Esther. Psychological safety in the workplace involves rewarding mistakes, calculated mistakes, of course. I didn't finish reading that. Let me just put it up again. Allow employees to learn new skills without fear of being punished. Again, thank you. This comes to us. This actually comes to us in terms of how then do we allow employees, or when they make mistakes, what's our response? Are we, do we say, okay, that's not how it should have gone? But the key thing is, what did you learn? Do you realize where we went wrong? What could we do different? But just the approach of sitting together, I think, can help. So we allow them to learn new skills and allow them, the others are watching to see how you deal with that mistake. It's like something is lost or something is broken. If clearly it was an accident, then you don't make so much noise about. You don't make so much noise about the breaking. Perhaps it is what happened and what should we do, or how should we prevent that from happening again. All right, Adan. Adan is asking elements of creative leadership. And this actually, you in the Mentimeter, you brought a number of these things. First of all, are you free? Are you free and secure? Do you have the confidence? First of all, you must have that vision. You must be confident in yourself so that you allow other people to give you ideas and you can work on them. So you need some knowledge base, definitely. You need to be inspirational. You need to be able to inspire people to bring those ideas, that there is no fear, and to identify where the creativity is and tap into it. You need to be able to assess the competencies that the people have to empower the people. So receptive to ideas, allow people to, as we're saying, make mistakes or get out of line, procedurally, not make mistakes deliberately. So for me, the key thing about creative leadership is that you appreciate that your team can generate ideas that perhaps that are different from yours, and you rely on newness, new theory, as opposed to the old one where you're sticking to just the manual, just the policy, and has this been tried and tested? Will it work? Creative leaders feel the fear, do it, dare, take the risk. Those are some of the things that I would say are good in terms of are you confident in yourself? Are you humble? Are you accepting your mistakes? When you're taking the risks, do you have the patience? Can you persevere in the face of obstacles? Are you humble? Can you try out new things, ambiguous things? Are you able to tolerate, or do you say this doesn't make sense? Just put it aside. Bring something structured. I need this answer. It must be structured in a certain way. And then remember the growth mindset. Creative leaders must have a growth mindset. So I think I want to share a few of those, and maybe I don't know if there is another question, Catherine.
So far, there is no other question. We'd also like to appreciate that we have the executive director waiting to say something, and we had scheduled this for up to 5 p.m. So you can just take a few minutes to just share if it is brief, so that we can also give her an opportunity. But in the comment section, we have one on leadership style that allows for creativity, and a comment from Esther indicating that they should promote inclusion, safety, learner safety, contributor safety, and challenger safety among team members. So she's contributing to the conversation. So perhaps as you share your last bit and perhaps answer to Adan Ali on the creativity, the leadership style that allows for creativity, then now we allow for a few comments from the executive director.
Okay, thank you. Let me first respond to Aden. Is it Aden? Let me see. Yeah, in terms of leadership style, I hope we're all familiar with the transformational leadership. The transformational leadership has four, we call them the 4 I's. The first one is the idealized influence, whereby you are able to, when you look at, sometimes the leader is not in any way, it's not a matter of qualification or experience, it's just that they're open and people like them, because when they go for ideas or when they have anything to bounce off them, they are received well. So people follow them. They idealize, yeah, not idolize, idealize. They like them because they are receptive. Then the next one, the next I is inspiration or motivation. In all that they do, they encourage people, or they always inspire so that people can grow. And in this case, if somebody is inspiring you to grow or to say whatever it is that you are doing, then you will be, the aspect of creativity will come in. The third I is intellectual stimulation. Now, in intellectual stimulation, you allow people, especially technology, you allow people to try new things, to bring in, this is an aspect of creativity almost in doing or using technology. If you have no fear that somebody will bring you a certain tool or a certain process, then you're stimulating them in terms of their intellectual stimulation, because they can try new ideas and you're receptive to it. Then the fourth I is individualized consideration. Now, in individualized consideration, it means that even though I'm talking to how many of you, you are over 300, now a few have dropped. It means that the leader is able to address, you're able to address each of you. You feel, even though I'm talking to a group, you feel that I'm talking to you. And therefore, that personalized connection will enable you feel free to try something different. So for me, the style I'd like to, which I feel fosters creativity, is transformational leadership, because you are connecting with the people. So my parting shot then, perhaps, Catherine, is in these times, creative leadership is something we should venture out for. Let's not be afraid. Let's not be the HR manager that want to stick, or HR practitioner that wants to stick to the manual, to the norm, to the box. Let us allow creativity by we being able to facilitate innovative ideas and allowing those that we are leading or working with to execute them. Let's not be afraid. Let's just go out there and do it. So thank you, Catherine.
Well, thank you so much, Salome, for that for the insights you've shared today. And what I'm taking away from this is there is no fear for a creative leader. You have to go out there and get it and try new things that are not the norm. So we really appreciate you this afternoon. I'm sure that Edie is going to guide us on summarizing what perhaps she's taken from the conversations this afternoon. Madam CHRP Kuresha would like to welcome you and engage us briefly before we close down the webinar. Karibu.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you so much, Madam Salome. I think that was very insightful. I must say, when we joined from the beginning in terms of the creative leadership, and we have actually gone beyond that, if you ask me, because we've looked into, can I just say, the holistic leader and what we are supposed to deliver as HR professionals. I've also picked that the way you've engaged, we already know who does what, and when we are mentioned which leader does ABC, we were very quick to pick on that, and that just tells us that, and I appreciate the HR professionals, that we are engaged and we know what is going on around us. I've mentioned before the reason why we've picked this this theme for this year was very specific, because as HR professionals, we are in charge of a workplace that is really evolving. So even as we build our leadership to be creative, and I like how you've actually just demystified on which leadership style resonate with creative leadership. I can also mention that, you know, when you are put in a situation, it doesn't matter which type of leadership style you are, trust me, you will adapt to be a creative leader. So what we are driving, and thank you, the fellow of the institute, the highest anchor. She's an author. She has extensive experience in leadership and governance, and something that we need to emulate as HR professionals. I was very keen to pick on how are we doing with the cross-functional collaboration, because that is key. Are we bringing our organizations together? HR is evolving. Now we are business directors. Everyone relies on us. So how do we ensure, and it came up in the conversation, facilitating that growth mindset? And overall, I will say that if we move in this path, because when we talk about fostering a culture of continuous improvement, as Madam Salome has rightly put, it doesn't mean there is something wrong with you. It just basically means how can you continue building and strengthening what you already know. Thank you so much to the HR professionals. Let's continue engaging. On 3rd August, we are going to have the epic and the climax of the HR month. Let's join together. Let's show our creativity. And I appreciate each one of you for joining. I know there are some of you who are asking. I wanted to clarify 2 items here. There's those of you who are asking there for the presentations. I want to note it here, and it goes on the record. We will not share any presentation. This conversation was recorded. That is someone's intellectual property. So if you want to reference anything, please play back this video. That is one thing I wanted to put across. Number 2, about the CPD points. Remember, you are entitled to 4 free CPD points. So you also need to be mindful. We host different forums, so you need to see which ones resonate with you. And even if you attended 10 of them, except for the ones that we wanted to cover you for the 2023 Miss CPD points, for the 2024, we'll only record 4 free CPD points. And again, please go to our website. We have these trainings across. You can imagine what we've just learned. I don't even know how to contextualize, because it was so deep, it resonated with me, and we were over 300 in this forum. Let's continue engaging as HR professionals. Let's influence policy where we can. Let us all be accountable, and let us also be transparent. And I call upon to all the HR professionals, especially those at leadership, let us set good examples for at our workplaces. Let's make our workplaces for us to enable leadership. Because yesterday I was in a session whereby someone said leaders should be replaceable. I should make themselves replaceable. And when he explained, he said, we should not hold on to titles. We should create more leaders. And I think it's time that even as we do come up with emerging leaders in our offices as HR professionals, let's also build that community within the HR. Thank you so much. Thank you for everyone who has been very supportive this HR month. Please plug in within your branches, give back. We even have career fairs where you can plug in. Please feel free to reach out to us. Asanteni sana. I would like to also appreciate the communication team led by Irene and Catherine for coordinating this. Thank you also, Madam Salome Gito, for volunteering. She's one of the pioneers. We are actually lucky to have this space of HR even be regulated in our industry in Kenya, thanks to her and the other founders of the Institute. We always appreciate you and we celebrate all of you. Asante sana. Thank you. Back to you, Catherine.
Wow, lovely. Thank you so much, Kuresha, for summarizing the entire afternoon session for us. We really do appreciate you also joining us and spending time with us this afternoon. I believe the insights resonated very well with everyone, especially those of us in leadership, as well as those of us looking to become leaders. We have a little bit more to think about instead of just looking at ourselves as a leader. Now we are going to look at ourselves as how do we become creative in our leadership. So I'd like to take this opportunity to appreciate each and everyone, especially those who stuck with us to the end. At some point, we were over 300. And the number is going down as we are winding up. So thank you so much, Salome, for also taking us through the presentation and keeping it within the time period we have slotted for it. It's 5 o'clock now, and I really want to say thank you everyone for joining this webinar. We are going to be having a career fair for those of us who will like to join us on the 31st between 9 a.m. and 1 p.m. We have the sports day on 3rd. Madam Kuresha, you want to say something?
Yes, thank you so much. I wanted to just appreciate, we have council members who have joined us for this session. Thank you so much. I see Madam Catherine is there, Asante Sana, and we appreciate you. Maybe I wanted to let you know that the council members within the regions are leading the HR months within those regions. Please feel free, interact with them, and it's your chance to ask those questions at this time when you meet them there. So asante sana, Madam Catherine. We appreciate your support.
Thank you so much, Gresha. So at this point, thank you so much, everyone. We can leave at our own pleasure. Salome, thank you so much. This particular webinar is going to be available on YouTube for you to review at your convenience or go back and check on the notes. So we want to thank you so much. Keep engaging us. Let us know where we need to improve as well so that we can keep serving you better. So thank you so much. Have a lovely evening.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, everybody. Bye.
You're welcome, Salome. We'll engage you more on such conversations.
Thank you. You're welcome.